Republic and the United States. Two words so often and so closely associated, they seem almost inseparable. But there was once a time in America's history, at its inception, where the ideals of the new nation were so up in the air that the notion of monarchy in the United States was more than just a fantastical idea, but a real movement with real supporters. So today we ask the question, what if a monarch had been placed on the throne of America? Not George Washington or some other non-royal, but a true European-style monarch. Do you have a suggestion for a future video? Do you want a place to discuss history and other topics with me and other fans of the history genre? Then join the That Annoying American Discord server. Link in the pinned comment as well as the description. First, some context. In the 1780s, the United States was a much different place than the country and government we know today. The Constitution of modern America was a few years off, leaving the nation under the Articles of Confederation. This proto-constitution gave the central government near zero power, no ability to collect taxes or pay the army. In response to this chaos and disorder came a strong call to replace the Articles with a new constitution. From the debate that followed, we would eventually get the modern Constitution of the United States. But there were some who called for different solutions, and some yet among those who called for the placing of a European monarch in control of America. The most prominent of these movements was the secret plan known as the Prussian Scheme, to put Frederick the Great of Prussia's younger brother Heinrich on the throne. The plot was headed by founding father and at one point president of the Congress of the Confederation, Nathaniel Gorham. The plot was stopped dead in its tracks, however, when Heinrich himself declined the title of King of America, arguing quite reasonably that there were very few people in the country who would truly accept his rule. Now let's make something clear right off the bat. America was near definitely never going to place a monarch in control after fighting a years-long struggle to free themselves from George III's rule. This scenario is so improbable, in fact, it's more of a fun thought experiment, and not something to be taken too seriously. The following series of events I am going to describe is my take on a world in which the United States placed a monarch on its throne. It is an alternate 1785, and George Washington is dead, shot by a disgruntled soldier who had not received his promised pay for fighting in the Revolution. The death of the beloved general throws the young United States into yet more chaos and disorder. Enter Nathaniel Gorham, who in this timeline is a much more prestigious founding father. Whether this be due to great speeches or writings, he is a household name. One of the greats, alongside James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington. Gorham becomes close friends with Alexander Hamilton in the aftermath of Washington's death. And with his support, Hamilton's brand of federalism gains popularity in a larger part of society, calling for a president for life, and increased power of the executive branch of the United States. It is around this point that Heinrich accepts Gorham's secret proposal to place him on the throne of the United States, if the opportunity presents itself. Come 1787, Hamilton comes to Gorham with a request for him to help him write the Federalist Papers, to sway New York and other states in favor of the new Constitution that was being proposed at the time. With Nathaniel's influence, the seeds for monarchism are placed subtly throughout the papers. Then, the following year, in 1888, Hamilton is himself assassinated by a radical anti-federalist, turning him into a martyr for the Federalist cause and leaving Nathaniel Gorham the new presumptive head of the movement. It is now he makes his own proposal to the Constitutional Convention. Republicanism has failed. If we keep our current track, democracy and freedom we fought so valiantly for will be crushed by our own lack of cohesion. It is for this reason I propose a return to the tried and true system of monarchy. He then goes on to lay out his own proposal for a constitutional monarchy, with the king acting as the head of the state and executive branch, sharing power with the president of parliament, the equivalent of our timeline's House of Representatives and Senate combined. The convention is in uproar. Many called the idea treasonous and insane. But some radical federalists from the north see the plan as a rational solution to the nation's woes. It is at this point Heinrich lands in New York on a boat from Prussia. There he is declared King Henry I of America, founder of House Freiheit. New York and other northern states ratify this new constitution and accept King Henry as their sovereign and monarch. Meanwhile, the southern states secede, declaring themselves each independent nations. The Continental Army, receiving the first real money they'd seen in years, in the form of gold and silver from King Henry's personal fortune, declare themselves for the king. What follows is a years-long campaign in which the Royal Army defeats local militias and reconquers the southern states, securing a united America under this new monarchy. The years after would see this new authority secure its control. With new election laws and mandates, the Federalists are near guaranteed a majority in government, all loyal to the king. The ideals of free speech and other liberties are consistently eroded away, to a similar extent seen during the Adams administration of our own timeline. With increased Federalist control, we would also see a nation more oriented towards Federalist ideals in the early decades of the United States. This means tariffs and other pro-Northern business rather than agrarian policies. And importantly, no War of 1812 or any further hostilities with Britain. In fact, it is very likely the United States would side with Britain against France during the French Revolution, seizing the Louisiana territories. Beyond this, by the 1820s, a very major development would begin to be seen in Europe, the outlawing of slavery. Both Prussia and Britain would have ended the institution by this point, and I see it as very likely that the United States would have followed suit by royal and government proclamation. This would most certainly trigger a civil war far before the one seen in our own timeline. But like in our own timeline, even decades before, the North would enjoy significant advantages in population and industrial power over the South. Within years, the nation would be reunited once more. With the United States much more closely resembling the nations of Europe, I see it as a possibility that it would more closely imitate the actions of the Old World, perhaps even taking a more active role in the scramble for Africa, claiming territory on the continent for itself in the name of American empire. From this point in the timeline, I see the next major point of interest as the First World War. With the German monarchy and anti-French sentiment high, it would be interesting to see which side the United States would come to fight on. However, a German family also ruled over Great Britain, which never stopped them from fighting the Germans. Also, Anglo-American relations would have been much friendlier in this timeline. So in all likeliness, the United States would have still fought alongside the Entente powers. Alternate history is a fun concept. A royalist United States is such a novel idea, it seems pointless to even discuss. And at the end of the day, at least in a logical sense, it is. Still, it makes for a good story. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you soon.